Good evening and a very warm welcome to First Issues. 2016 looks set to be a good year for the promotion of equity capital markets in Botswana, what with the excitement and conversations that was sparked by the listing of the BTCL IPO recently, Botswana's first successfully privatized parastatal. And now, the Botswana Stock Exchange inaugural listing conference that took place on the 10th of March at the GICC. The conference offered an informative platform in which listed companies shared their testimonies on how they achieved value through a BSE listing. And a formidable panel of experts from a diverse array of industries provided insights into the opportunities listing presents for achieving sustainable and even continental growth for business. The government has undergone a mammoth campaign to get Botswana talking about and investing in shares, and now the Botswana Stock Exchange is encouraging local companies to participate themselves on the national bourse by listing. Tonight, therefore, we look at the opportunities and benefits of listing a company, as well as take a look at the investment market as well. The Botswana Stock Exchange encouraged Botswana to list on the bourse either as a company with a grand idea, such as Turnstar did when they were looking to finance the building of Game City, or as an existing company looking to expand into the region, as Choppies did. The CEO of the Botswana Stock Exchange tells us what they truly wanted the more than 120 companies that were invited to the conference to take away.
We are trying to get as many companies as possible to list in the local stock exchange, mainly by attracting small, medium and large companies that have got the potential to list in the short, medium to long term, so that we grow the numbers and we grow the activity into our local market and the size of the stock market.
Why should companies list? What's their incentive?
Listings provide a lot of opportunities. First, it makes it possible for companies to access capital from investors so that they can grow their productive capacities, so that they can offer more services to clients and ultimately produce more and make more money and more profits.
What of the BSE? Companies can list on any exchange. What are the attractive factors for listing on the BSE?
The BSE offers a number of competitive and comparative advantages. It's a liquid market, it's a thriving stock exchange, and also in terms of confidence, we attract a lot of capital money both from foreigners and locals, and also our regulatory framework is good and intact, and also it's sort of a stock exchange that is readily available to help a lot of companies that want to list. Participation of Botswana in terms of contribution to total turnover fluctuates between 8% to 15% of the total market of the total turnover. And when you compare this with South Africa, it's about 10% in South Africa and it's about 5% in Nigeria. So fluctuating at about 8 to 15%, I think by our standard, is very good.
To share their experience with listing on the exchange was the CEO of Choppies, Ramachandran Otapathu. He says the benefits a firm accrues from listing are manifold.
We need to look at different angles. Okay, listing, what does the organization gets out of listing? Okay, organization gets access to capital, and that capital brings in a lot of growth opportunities. Okay, that's for the organization. For the entrepreneur, the founders and the entrepreneurs behind it, they get an opportunity to monetize their wealth. Okay, that also achieved through the listing. Okay. For the general society, the public get a chance to participate in a growing enterprise. Okay. For the society as a whole, like pension funds, institutional investors get a chance to stay invested in the company, and in some cases to get board participation and direct the company, help the company to get to better rights. I think that covers all the aspect of the listing and the advantages, and we did use the potential what we achieved from listing, and that's how we could grow the business into the region as a whole.
So were the results what you expected? Were there any surprises? Did they exceed or underperform?
The results were satisfactory and better than expected.
What do you wish you had known at the beginning of the process? Something that could probably be valuable for every other company CEO watching right now and looking to list their company.
it is not that cumbersome. Okay, if you follow the principle and rules and regulations properly, it's much easier process, and it's easy journey provided you plan for it and properly plan for it.
RMB, having been involved in many of the largest public offerings and placements in Southern Africa, with 28% market share in all equity capital market transactions in Sub-Saharan Africa since 2010, according to Dialogic, were one of the sponsors and contributors to the conference. To share more about their role and interests in the event is Irshad Parouk, head of RMB's equity capital markets team based in Johannesburg. What was your main message to all the stakeholders, especially the companies that were present at this event today?
So from my perspective, and it's pretty much an equity capital markets perspective, I think the key takeaway or the message I want to leave people with is that we speak to investors in Africa, African equities on a deal basis and on a daily basis from a flow perspective. And for the right African story, with an appropriately positioned equity story and investment case, we still feel that there is significant appetite for people to invest in those companies and for those companies to raise capital at attractive valuations. So I think the message is if you are thinking of investing and raising capital, there is a market there for you to tap, but you need to make sure that you're advised by the right person or the right people to maximize the efficiency of that process and ultimately achieve a successful outcome.
What kind of factors affect the listing? You said there were some key things to consider when considering the effectiveness of a listing. I'm sure timing and other elements.
Yes, timing is one thing. So it's obviously you need to have somebody who's close to the market and is aware of the different sentiment that may be in the market at the time you're thinking of coming to market. I think more than that, it's making sure that the company is appropriately prepared to come to market, so that they have the right structures in place, that they have the right remuneration policies in place, they have the right governance in place, and also making sure that the equity story and investment case of the business is appropriately positioned with investors, so that people know what they're buying and what they're buying into, and that there's a long-term growth story there for people to believe in. I think that's critically important for investors in an IPO.
Welcome back to the program. As in this portion of our program, we conclude our weeks-long discussion on personal financial management, discussing planning for your financial future with the CEO of Bona Life, Regina Sikalistelevaga. What is going to happen to you after retirement when that monthly income stops flowing in? Do your current financial plans take your future into account, or are they solidly based on current pressures? If you do have a pension plan in place, do you fully understand its intricacies? Do you expect to maintain the same quality of life you will have had while working? There are a number of factors to consider when planning for one's financial future. Those who depend on you financially, those whom you depend on, and a host of life events that can disrupt even the best laid plans. The world is also changing, and more Botswana will not have a homestead gohae and some cows to retire to when they reach a certain age, meaning that financial prudence is also becoming more and more important. What then should you be doing? Regina Sikalistelevaga returns for the final installation of our conversation on personal financial management to give you some pointers. We find that on one hand are older Botswana who find themselves completely unprepared for life after retirement, and on the other are younger people who do not have their feet firmly planted on the ground regarding their financial responsibilities at a time when it is most crucial to do so. Several financial articles have said starting to save in your 20s puts you in much better financial standing upon retirement than someone who starts even in their 30s because of compound interest. So how then do we realistically plan to establish a lifelong income?
The first demographic that you describe, ke ba e leng gore re itebetse you know, because things were so easy, we just forgot ourselves. And things caught up with us. You get to retirement age and you are not prepared. And then in the second demographic, you see these young people that have grown up in a lifestyle and they don't know how this wealth has been created. They don't know how this lifestyle has been funded. They just think that is how life should be. So the first thing that one needs to do is to look at something that is realistic and to take a step back. You know, I always say to the younger generation, you need to take a step back 25 years ago and imagine where your parents would have been 25 years ago. They were struggling. So take yourself to that struggle and start building a more realistic vision and a more realistic future and how you're going to get to that future. So it's exactly the opposite. It's a dichotomy because in the first instance, things just happened and you found yourself prospering and moving in the right direction and creating wealth and your life becoming better and advancing. Whereas in the second scenario, the life has already advanced, but it's not your life. So get out of your parents' comfort zone, get out of your parents' home and go and make your life. And when you're making your life, you're starting from zero, just like they started from zero 25 years ago when you were being born. So one has to be realistic, but realistic means realistic in relation to what? It's realistic in relation to your station in life at that point in time. If you are 22 years old, coming fresh out of university, coming out of tertiary school, there's no ways that you should be building a realistic vision of having a car, a fully furnished house, and all of those things, because it takes years to build those. There's no realistic vision of thinking you're going to be a manager or a managing director within 5 years, because it takes 20 years to get there. So people have to, in a sense, snap out of some of the unrealistic images that we have or images that we create for ourselves and just go down to the basics. It's not easy, but that's the only way it has to be done.
How now do we, I know the budget can take care of our immediate needs and even put aside some for the future needs, but what tools and resources are out there for us to start making sure our future is better?
There's no, I think we complicate things because there is no tool that you need for drafting a budget. When you're drafting a budget, you just have to look at how much you have, your income, after you've paid your taxes and after you've paid everything that you need to pay. How much do you have? What do you need? And out of the things that you need, there's a spectrum of affordability. If you need a house, you can get a house, you can pay rent for a house for 5,000, or you can pay rent for a house for 1,000. And if you can only afford the 1,000, that's what you should be sticking to. But unfortunately, what's happening is that because our mindsets are in lifestyle, this is what I'm accustomed to, this is what I've grown into for 25 years, this is what I want. We'll go for the house that's costing 5,000, and then we don't have any money to do anything else, and we're permanently stressed because we don't know how to fund the difference. So it's really a question of just being very, very realistic on what you have and banking what you need out of what you have. So there's no formula or any big tools that you need to draft a budget. The only big tool that you need for drafting a budget is a realistic mind. That's the biggest tool that's going to get you to really live the life that you can afford to live.
I guess I meant to say, what services or even financial instruments are out there to help us better prepare for our financial future? I know there are different saving plans, different pension plans, and a lot of people don't even know where to begin with regards to making sure that in 10 or 20 years, despite how much they've accumulated or how much income they're getting, they will have a secure cushion.
Okay. Like you rightly say, there's host of products out there, but if you haven't formulated the right thing for yourself, you're not going to know which product meets your needs. And that's why it's important for me to say that you need to realistically set yourself targets and plans that are within your affordability. When you go to financial institution, any financial institution will be able to provide you with a loan. It will be able to provide you with a debt instrument. And that debt instrument you need to be able to use for something that's going to be sustainable and something that's going to enhance your life. So when you go to any bank, you'll find a loan for a car, a mortgage, a TV, school fees, and whatever else. But if you don't know what you should be spending your money on, you're likely to spend your money on what the bank is best able to sell to you. So it's very important for you to say, this is what I want. When you go to the financial institution, you know that that is what you want. So from a financial institution, like I say, you'll be able to get your debt, but from a financial institution, you'll be also able to get your savings. So you'll be in a position to say, I can create a savings account, and I need to find out how that savings account works. And I need to find out what rate of interest I'm going to be able to get from all of the financial institutions combined, and choose the one that's giving you the most. When you look at insurance companies, you'll be able to get a savings product, and the savings products come in different forms. You can save for your health, you can save for your school fees, you can save for a holiday, you can save for a wedding, depending on what your needs are. The risk products that you will find are products that are going to help you manage death, like your funeral product, your life cover, and your mortgage protector, which is going to be a risk product that is covering your mortgage bond that you have received from some other institution. And then the different types of mortgage protection plans that you can get are a decreasing term. You can have one that's going to decrease as the mortgage comes down, or you're going to have a level term, which you pay the same amount of money until the end of your mortgage plan. So there's various instruments that you can get. You can get unit trusts. Unit trusts are like a combination of different types of savings or types of investments, which are put together into one product, so that your risk is diversified within that portfolio. You can find property. You can invest in property, and you don't necessarily have to go out there and look for the house, your dream house. You go and find a house that falls within your affordability, and you look at it and project, in the next 10 years, I'll be able to improve this house to bring it to the dream house that I want. You can get shares on the stock market. You can go to a broker who can give you financial advice on which shares to invest in, and so on. And the real value with the shares is that you will buy them at a particular price, and as the company grows and does better, the price also increases, and you'll be able to earn a dividend in between.
So clearly I brought the cart before the horse. Yes. I should have asked, what should we aim to have in place upon retirement? I know nobody's life path is the same, but some of the things we really need to be working towards at different life stages.
Okay. When you're starting off in life, that is the time for you to get debt. That is the time for you to invest in high-risk investments, because you've got a lifetime to recover. So when you are starting off, look for a product that's going to create a lot of wealth for you over the period of your working life. And then as you reach the end, which is your retirement, you should have made sure that you've paid off all of the debt that you had, and you've got everything that is essential for your life, for your lifestyle. You've got a house that's fully paid for, you've got a car that you own, and you've got children that you have educated and you've finished educating. So that when your pension kicks in, because your pension is actually reduced, when your pension kicks in, it doesn't find you still with debt. The debt must have been cleared. So it's a balancing act. As you start off, you gear your life with a lot of debt because you can actually afford that for as long as you can pay it back. And that debt must be spent on things that are going to be there in the future, not debt to go on holiday and to go out to expensive restaurants, because those won't be there at the end. And then as you get to the end, make sure that you've cleared all of your debt and you can now live off this small income, which is your pension. So it's really a balancing act. And if you're coming to the end of your working life and you don't have a pension and you haven't been able to do all of the things that you need to have done, because that's the reality of what's going on now, just scale down the things that you're still paying for and minimize them, so that as you go out of your working environment and maybe you go into farming or whatever else that is less secure, you don't have to be worrying about paying back a financial institution. Mm-hmm.
I guess that sums it all up. Like you're saying, invest in the things that will be there to feed you when you're no longer getting a regular income. Unless you have any other words to share with regards to crafting this life plan for your future and setting a personal vision, some things that people need to really consider when doing this.
I think it's always important to really think about how, when I spend this money, where is it going to? Like, for instance, if you are living in a rented house, you need to understand that the money that you are paying for that rented house is not going to you. It's going to someone else. And if that someone else has got a bond, they are using your money to clear their bond. So you have to be very, very conscious of where your money is going to, not what you are getting immediately as the benefit, but where this money is ultimately going to end up. When you are paying for a car, you know that you are spending money now, but you're going to have the car after you've finished paying for it in 5 years. So that is something worthwhile that you can spend your money on. But as soon as you see that your money is not going to something that's coming back to you, then you should understand that that money is not being spent wisely, or you could be finding other ways of spending that money. If you're going to buy a policy, you know that you're parting with this money, but somewhere down the line you're going to need that money again. So you must always be consciously thinking all the time, where is this money going to? Who am I giving this money to? Is this really my money, or is it money that belongs to somebody else? So I think that the bottom line is, let's be conscious of what we're doing, let's be conscious of why we're doing it, and let's be conscious of where it's taking us.